Friends in Christ, Pastor Brian here. On my recent trip to North Carolina, I noticed something. Now, growing up, you saw either First in Flight or First in Freedom on our license plates in North Carolina. And this time, I was seeing a lot of In God We Trust. Now, I noticed this especially in a car that had another sticker proclaiming In God We Trust as the motto of the United States, which it is. But I wondered, did the person in that vehicle know that motto has only been the official motto of the U.S. since 1956? About a third of the history of our country. The first motto of the United States, which appears on the Great Seal, which was approved in 1782, is E pluribus unum. It's Latin, which translates into something like out of many, one, or one from many. Now, In God We Trust was made the motto during the height of the Cold War. This is also when Under God was added to the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, this action was meant to distinguish us from those godless Soviet communists. There's an article by Thomas Foster that's linked in my written pastor's thoughts that does a good job of describing how both E pluribus unum and In God We Trust have functioned in the U.S. over time. Now, as I pondered all of this, I came to the conclusion that In God We Trust actually points to the earlier and more inclusive motto, E pluribus unum. The motto that the first committee to create the Great Seal, which included Adams, Jefferson, and Franklin, could all agree on. See, if the God you trust is the God who is the Father of Jesus, then this is indeed the God who makes one out of many. Jesus and his apostles welcomed everyone to the table, sinners, tax collectors, Gentiles, Jews. And they would go on to spread throughout the world, welcoming into the one body of the church people of all ethnicities, languages, cultures, spreading from the Middle East to Europe, the Americas, Africa, into Asia and the Pacific. This is what the founders of our nation were striving for as well. See, their proposition was that you did not need a common language, ethnicity, or religion to be one people. Instead, what made us one was our commitment to certain principles laid down in our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. That what bound us together was a commitment to the rule of law, watching out for those who are minorities among us. That's another Judeo-Christian value. And a commitment to the common good, even as we value individual freedoms. Now, it took them a while to realize that E pluribus unum included those indigenous peoples they encountered here, enslaved peoples who were brought from Africa, Mexican citizens who became American citizens through various purchases, Chinese immigrants who helped build the Union Pacific Railroad. It included the Roman Catholics in Maryland, the Dutch in the New York area. It included the Swedes, Danes, and Norwegians who moved to the Midwest in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It included Vietnamese refugees in the 1970s. E pluribus unum, out of many, one, says that we can be what we are, a huge and diverse country with many regional differences. This trip pointed them out. Language, is it a pork loin or a tenderloin? Culture, ways of living, carports or garages on your house, food, and so much more. All of this changes across this nation that spans a continent. We can be that diverse and still be one people, brought together by something bigger than all those things that could be used to divide us. Now, as a follower of Jesus, I would say first and foremost, what brings us together is our shared humanity, that each of us is created in the image of God and deserving of love and respect for that reason alone. As a citizen, I would say it is our shared recognition of the dignity and respect for other humans that exists in our laws, regardless of birth, wealth, or power. Now, during my trip, I was reminded of all these things. Our great diversity of settings, cities and farms, towns and wilds, of mountains and valleys, broad plains, wide skies. Our diversity of foods, restaurants, pastimes, interests, our differences in politics, certainly. But I also saw the core of what makes us one. Parents doing the hard but necessary work of raising their children in the way they should go. Children giving of their time and energy to care for aging parents. Couples in love with one another, friends laughing and enjoying each other's company. Strangers helping strangers along the highway. Common courtesy. Looking out for one another. I saw our shared humanity, regardless of setting, food, and yes, even politics. All that being said, I'll leave you with this thought. What if we started our relationship with each other with the things that make us one and moved from there? Wouldn't that be a wonderful place to live? God's blessings.